right flank. Longstreet's corps, his instructions are to begin to move across the field and at a certain point march at a left oblique, which is like this. And keep going up toward Cemetery Hill. Okay, not Cemetery Ridge, but Cemetery Hill. Well, once they start the left oblique, then you've got some Yankees up on the leadership of a guy named Chamberlain, who are up there on the Round Tops and in Devil's Den and that whole area, and they engage our forces. So I have to send in maybe 1,800 to 2,000 troops on the extreme right to engage those people and try and dislodge them. And at the same time, we engage General Sickles, who is a Union general, and we engage him down in a peach orchard in that area. So, but at the end of the second day, we're in good stead. We're in pretty good shape, okay? So I'm thinking, okay, now they've reinforced the ends, recognizing that I've got Ewell over here and that Longstreet is over here. They've reinforced their ends. What we'll do now is we will attack. We're going to aim for this. They refer to it as the copse of trees, but it's just a little bit south of Cemetery Hill, the strategic point, the high ground that I've been talking about. Okay. Now there's more to it. Of course, Longstreet tells me, no, we don't need to do this. What we should do is we should move south and we should occupy Pikes Creek, which is some trenches that the Union Army had dug on the south side. I said, no, we're going to head right for that. Right at that point right there is where we're going to go. And here's what we're going to do. Now, most people, all they understand, all they know about is Pickett's charge. That's all they know about, Pickett's charge. Now, let me see if I can't, with the help of these able bodies right here, I'm going to give you an idea as to what actually taking place. I'm going to be Pickett. I'm right here with Pickett, and I'm saying you're going to advance to a certain point, and then when you get to that point, you're going to do a left oblique, and instead of going straight up, you're going to end up going in this direction. Okay, George? And he says, yep, okay. Now, you're General Ewell. I want you to go stand right over here. Now,
got promoted.
Yeah. If you do it right, you may. At the time the cannonade begins from here in support of George Pickett's, the movement that George Pickett's going to initiate. At the time this cannonade begins, I'd like for you, General Ewell, to start shooting artillery right down the line. This is all the Union line right down through here. I want you to start firing artillery right down the line. Okay? Okay. Now while that's happening, this is General Stewart. You got to move too. Okay. I want you to ride around, all the way around, and come right back over here. Right there. Good. Right there. This was a three-pronged plan, and most people don't know this. At the same time that George Pickett is going this way, Ewell's going to be firing that way, and Jeb Stuart's going to be coming around that way. Okay? George Pickett begins, we fire the cannons, but unbeknownst to us, earlier in the day, the Union line had begun to engage General Ewell, and Ewell had to fire his artillery into the Union line, and he's out of ammunition by the time we need him to start firing. He's got a dozen rounds, and that's about it. So that aspect of the plan, doesn't work, okay? General Ewell, if you'll just come over here, you're out of the picture.
You didn't go far.
Now at the same time, about the time Jeb Stuart gets around, back over in here, there's been some Yankees that have been harassing General Ewell for the last day. And I tell him, knock those Yankees out of the way and then come in and attack the Union line from the back. Okay? About the time he gets over there where those Yankees are, he engages those Yankees and they disrupt all his activities. So now he is no longer involved in the picture. He's out of the game. Right over here, Jeb. If the plan had gone, if the activities had gone as planned, we'd have had Pickett going this way, we'd have had Ewell firing from that way, and we'd have had Stuart coming from this way. Now that puts him in a tight spot, doesn't it? Puts the Yankees in a tight spot. Unfortunately, Ewell didn't work, Stuart didn't work, so all you have left is Pickett. The Union forces can now concentrate on Pickett because there's nothing else disturbing him at all. And the other two aspects of the plan were not in play. I didn't know that because we don't have these things. I'm waiting for Ewell to fire. Why aren't you firing? I'm waiting for the activity to happen out back of him from
catch him from the rear, General, was
Stewart.
it?
Pardon?
Jeb was supposed to catch him from the rear and the front and back is how that was?
Pickett would have been coming this way, Stewart would have been coming from this way, School would have been coming from this way. We'd have literally cut their army in half. Taken these as prisoners, and the rest of them would have headed back toward Washington, and we'd have been after them.
Darn Custer.
But now, Longstreet said, "Why don't you go down and fall into this defensive position along Pike Creek?" That the Union forces, when they came up, they thought that we would probably come down there and attack them. So they dug trenches, nice trenches. Longstreet says, "Let's go down and occupy these trenches and let them come after us." Okay? Here's the, you might think that's a good plan, but let's say General Ewell takes his army and he moves it all right down to here. He gets in Pike Creek. Come on, General. And Stewart gets his men over in here, and Longstreet gets his men all in here. Oh, right there, right there. Okay. Because now we're south of Gettysburg, and there's the Union Army, okay, occupying Cemetery Ridge. We have now pulled out of our positions, we've gone south, and we've got into these trenches. All that has to happen now is that Union Army that is now occupying Cemetery Ridge, they come off the ridge and they begin advancing this way toward us. If that isn't bad enough, you've got another 40,000 Union troops back here behind us. Okay, so now we're put in the middle. We're put in the spot that we were in hopes we could catch them in. And Longstreet, I'm sorry, but we're not going to put I'm not going to put my army in that spot. We're right here. We're going to fight these people, and we're going to do it right now. Okay, does that kind of give you a little better idea of it? And most people are only familiar with Pickett's charge. That's all they know of. But there were other aspects. There were other part of the plan that was going to be in play.
A couple of walkie-talkies that helped everything.
Yeah. We could have said, "Oops, Ewell's out of ammunition and he's got caught. Let's back up here. Let's."